Hi, Jessica Magoch here, back again, CEO of JPM Sales Partners with my friend Melinda Elmborg, who's going to be sharing with us the three biggest mistakes to avoid as you're growing your startup, whether you get funding or not. Melinda is a former VC and she has now moved on to take the knowledge that she brought from the VC world and seeing all the mistakes in the 99% of companies that they couldn't fund and helping you move the needle and grow your startup. And she does that at her company, startupaction.co, which is an accelerator for startups. So at the end, we'll give you a link so you can find out more about that, see if you qualify to work with her. But Melinda, thanks so much for coming back with tips, mistake number 2. You're so helpful with mistake number 1. If you didn't see it, go back and look because you don't want to make that mistake. Mistake number 2, Melinda, what is it? What do we need to know?
Well, hi, Jessica, again.
Hi.
It's great to be back.
And thank you for flying in.
Yes. So for the second mistake, that is usually happening like after you launched, after you have a first version of your product. And it's like this is especially important with startups who raise capital from outside, even if it stays true for bootstrap startups as well. But the thing is that when you have too much capital as a startup, you start to think in a different way and spending money on the wrong things.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
So what is really important before you start spending money on marketing and sales is to have product market fit. So I speak about a bucket. Imagine a bucket and you're pouring water into.
Yeah.
If the water all stays there, that means you have product market fit.
Okay.
So then you can keep on adding customers and they'll stay there and they'll keep on using your product.
Okay.
However, if you have holes in your buckets and the water is sipping out, that means that you don't have product market fit. Okay. And that means that even if you invest in marketing and sales, all the water will fall out anyway.
Right.
So
we don't want that.
So what I advise startups is to keep on using this metaphor.
Yeah.
Is to keep on putting in a bit of water. I mean, you can't have zero water coming in because then you won't see where the holes are. But if you keep on adding a little bit, you can see where do we need to patch up? Where do we need to tweak and change and work on our product and our funnel and the whole user experience to make sure we have as little holes as possible. And then when we know that we have that efficient machine, we can invest much more in marketing or hire a sales team if we're B2B.
Right.
And really go full blown.
Yeah.
And so what happened when I've met startups who do invest in marketing and they don't have product market fit is that they will keep on doing Facebook ads or doing sales meetings or whatever, and it's just not going to convert. It's just not becoming customers.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have a product that the market loves and needs.
Mm. Yeah, I actually see that a lot. And when people they think they're ready to hire a salesperson, and they don't have the product market fit. So, but they expect that the salesperson will find it.
Yeah.
And then, you got that wrong because they're not miracle workers,
No, exactly.
But also, you don't really want to, whether you're paying them a base or not, you don't want them to have to go figure it out in the market. That's your job as a founder, is to do that product market fit and make sure that you're building something the market wants.
Yeah.
And the salesperson's never going to be able to fit a square peg in a round hole, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah. So salespeople aren't the answer either, is what you're saying. Just throwing money at ads and doing more sales meetings isn't going to solve it.
No. So if you as a founder can do the sales meetings, you can probably hear the objections and get in touch with your customer base and to based on that, tweak your product to finally get to product market fit. So that's why one reason to not hire an external salesperson, but rather do those sales meetings yourself, because it's going to help you get to product market fit faster.
What if I'm scared to sell?
Well, I mean, should you be scared to speak to your own users? I mean, they should be your favorite people in the world, and that's what you're building this amazing thing for. So if you're afraid of selling, just go and speak to them, as we talked about last week.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, doing those market fits. So do you have like an example you can share with us of how this worked for somebody?
Yeah, so I saw that many times when I was in VC. And because then when startups need to raise funding, they need to have growth. They need to show like a chart going upwards. And otherwise you as a VC can't really invest. So some startups really got that. And I remember especially one that was in Berlin. So we were flying out to Berlin and meeting them there. And they had a quite nice growth curve and everything. But then we asked about their lifetime value versus the customer acquisition costs. So it's basically the margin or the profit that you make out of your customer and every new customer coming in the door. And it was just so bad. Like they were spending more in marketing than they would ever get from these customers.
Were they aware of it or not until you asked?
Yeah, they were. But it's this thing that you take outside money, you take VC money, and they put a lot of pressure on you to grow and to invest in marketing. And they see that as the only way to grow your company. But it's not always the right way if you don't have product market fit. So I can really recommend to identifying if you have that first. So I have a couple of different definitions of it. Yeah.
And I think you're defining like that transition between startup and growth phase, startup is where you're defining the product market fit and the messaging and the sales process. And then growth is where you start throwing resources at it to start, scaling the sales and the marketing.
Exactly. And you can't force yourself into the growth stage.
Yeah. Well, you could.
You can't do that with money. You have to you have to tweak your product and tweak your message.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And then the making sure that you know what your lifetime values are and your customer cost of acquisition. Because it takes some numbers to actually have like good data around that.
Yeah.
But it's so important to know because later when it comes time to market, you'll know how much you can spend. It's a big, really important number to have.
Yeah, definitely.
I think people will be surprised how much it actually costs to get a customer. And then they go, it can't be as cheap as that. I can't be. No wonder all my competition is so expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for tip number 2. We're going to have Melinda back with the third mistake to avoid. So don't miss that, but you can catch her free resources at resources.startupaction.co. And that's how you can get all her free templates and get in touch with her and see if you qualify for her accelerator. So thanks so much, Melinda.
We'll see you very much.
Number 3. Bye.
Bye.